Welkom bij Supreme Exclusive, waarin we dieper ingaan op onderwerpen die Suriname vormgeven. Toerisme wordt al jaren gezien als veelbelovende sector met enorm veel potentieel. Suriname beschikt over biodiversiteit, culturele diversiteit en een unieke ligging tussen Zuid-Amerika en het Caribisch gebied. Toch blijft het bezoekersaantal vrij laag, zijn de infrastructuur en dienstverlening nog onderontwikkeld en blijft de vraag: wat hebben we nodig om echt door te breken als toeristische bestemming? Vandaag spreken we twee deskundigen uit verschillende hoeken van het veld. Aan de ene kant Egon van Voidl. Hij is de voorzitter van SHATA, dat is de Suriname Hospitality and Tourism Association. En aan de andere kant Sherida Mormon, ontwikkelingseconoom en ook ondervoorzitter van de Vereniging van Economisten in Suriname, de VES. En dan verkennen we de vraag: kan Suriname, de slapende reus van het toerisme, zichzelf wakker maken of blijft het bij mooie ambities zonder echte impact? Dit is Supreme Exclusive. Welcome, Mrs. Mormon and Mr. Van Voidl.
Sure.
It's a privilege to have you in our program. Normally we start off with the women, but this time I will start with you, Mr. Van Voidl.
Okay, no problem.
It's genders.
I have a special question for you.
Sure.
Have you changed your passport yet?
To which passport?
To the Surinamese passport?
No,
No,
no.
but you are more Surinamese sometimes, I feel.
That is true.
Like a lot of people who call themselves Surinamese, but it's a compliment. It's a compliment.
Thank you very much.
Let's start off with our tourism sector,
Sure.
because that's where we are going to talk about this in this program. How would you describe the current state of the tourism sector in Suriname, and at what point are we right now?
But I think, the tourism in the country has been very single focused on the Dutch market. I don't think there has to be really growth at all. And so from our point of view now, we know the Dutch market, but we will not focus on the Dutch market. We want to upgrade tourism. Mm-hmm. We want to go away from backpackers and move up, meaning that room rates, etc., will go up as well, benefiting the economy. And we are looking at Europe at large. We're looking at the US particular, and we're looking at Asia. I just came back from China. Dinesh, one of my board members, just came back from China. So we take a serious look at China. We take a serious look at Japan. Japan, very well known for bird watchers, as an example, right? So I think we are retooling tourism in the country from the ground up.
Okay, so we are still building.
Oh, we have to build.
Yes.
It's a very small economy at the present time. We're going to make it a major leader in the economy. I mean, natural resources are depleted. Tourism doesn't deplete, tourism builds. So the emphasis has to be to focus on tourism from a public point of view as well as private point of view, because this is going to be here for generations of Surinamese. And so I think people have to take tourism more serious.
Yes. Can you maybe share any data or milestones that support your view?
I think Sherida has more data than me. I mean, I know what the arrivals are at the airport. We know that they are not very defined. We know how many rooms we have in the country. But the data that we have at the moment, in my opinion, I don't feel comfortable actually to using that data.
I understand. But what you will surely talk more about and can say more about is the training you have initiated as SHATA recently, training 60, as I say, immigration officers.
Yes.
What prompted this initiative, and how will it impact our tourism?
But when we looked at it and we said, okay, what is the first impression a tourist has or a visitor to the country? But the first person they actually meet is an immigration officer, right? Mm-hmm. An unmotivated immigration officer will just say, give me your passport and put a stamp in it, and that's it. There is no good impression to start off with. So when I receive complaints from visitors saying they're actually rude, I had a meeting with the commander, and I said, okay, what do we have to do? How many people do you have? He told me I have 60 people at Sunderay that I'm rotating. These people, these officers, working actually 24-hour shifts. So this is not an easy job. So motivation is key, right? So I said to him, okay, the first thing we're going to do is, we, from a hotel point of view, we're going to do customer service training for you people. We divided 16 into parts of 16 officers. We spent one day with them at the hotel, and we emphasized eye contact, smile, and so on. So we trained them in principle in the basics of customer service. And so with great success, because I was actually very surprised at the last session how positive this and how grateful actually these officers were. I thought initially they might say, but who are you to go and tell us to smile, as an example, right? But we had a panel of HR people who worked with them during that whole process, and I think it worked very well. And we follow up with them all the time.
Okay. Does the 60 include the personnel of Zorg en Hoop also? And recently we opened a new international airport.
But the commander told me that he has 60 people, so I'm not sure if the 60 are spread over the various places or if it is for Sunderay only. Should they have more, then logically we will go and plan to do the same program with them. And we follow up with them. As you can see, the pin that I wear here, right? That says, Welcome Suriname.
Yes.
I made these pins
Tell us more about that.
But I want that when guests arrive or visitors arrive, every immigration officer will have this pin on their uniform. It already says, Welcome Suriname. We have to reach out to the people, right? We have to be the beautiful country that we are with the beautiful people of Suriname. They are lovely people, so let's go and share it with visitors. So this is just one thing that we will do, to lift up the immigration officer's spirit.
Yes. So thank you for now. Mrs. Mormon, you're a development economist and you have a watch on tourism. So from your perspective, how important is the tourism sector to the Surinamese economy right now?
You should compare tourism with production, right? It's an export product, which means that the moment people come into your country and they spend, that is how we earn. And if we look at data, and we have outdated data, so that's why it's important, and I understand why Mr. Egon says, well, we don't trust it. We need to refresh, we need to have constant training, constant data analysis, right? So if we look at, for example, if someone spends, let's say $1,000, and there are 200,000 people coming into your country, so that means 200,000 times $1,000 that is earned in your country. So that's why tourism is important. And tourism is cross-cutting, because it's not only the person that comes into a hotel, but also the ones that are delivering a culture product, or the event organizer, of the crafters, of the transport. So it is cross-cutting all over the place. And even the hotels, if they need food, and where does it come from? So so tourism is so important for the country because it's cross-cutting. Every single sector has to do with tourism.
So talking about the data, we are a little bit out.
We have outdated data.
What are we doing to?
So for now, we know that the DNV, the DNV is responble for the national security.
Security, yes.
Yeah. So together with VES, they introduced this digitalization of the immigration,
right,
which means that now we can have data on direct data on who's coming to Suriname and what is the reason for their visit. That is one step. But we need to go to another step. What are you spending? So also the the central bank needs to capture all this data so we could exactly know what the contribution of the tourism sector is. So the next real step would be executing another visitor exit survey, because that has to do with knowing what the visitors are looking for, what have been their experience, and also what do they spend their money on. When you have that data, you can make more policy. You can make a better and improved policy.
So the data we have right now at our disposal, if
It's
you look
outdated.
at them, yes, but do you see, or what trends do you observe in contribution to our GDP or employment?
So currently, based on there was an exit survey in 2016 and one in 2004. And so the average expenditure of a visitor is around $1,000 per person. That's the visitor. So it's everybody that's coming to the country spends about $1,000. So in contribution to the GDP, if we look at the central bank information, the contribution of tourism to the GDP would be around 2% of 2 and 3% of the GDP. However, if we would compare the data and saying, well, now in Suriname there are about 300,000 people visiting the country, times $1,000, if that was a fact, it means that the contribution to the GDP is about 6 to 7%.
Wow.
So, but we're not sure, because it's just, we are like playing with the data.
Yes.
But if we have exact data, we can know exactly what the contribution is.
So we're still guessing right now.
So now we're still guessing, we're still assuming, but it is a fact that when people come to the country, they spend. And the moment you have a higher end and type of tourist that which Mr. Egon is referring to, then you will have a higher income. So for now, our tourism sector is currently exists because of our diaspora, because of the European tourists, because of the interns. And it's I'm not saying it's bad, because we're still living from that. But to increase the income, we should look at another type of tourists as well.
Okay, so going further on this, what are the core constraints preventing tourism from going faster?
So the core constraint, I think one of the best one is nobody knows who Suriname is. We are kind of the best kept secret. And if you're the best kept secret, you will not earn. So that is one thing. And then our airlift, our connectivity to the different countries is still minimum. However, if we could improve, based on the current connectivity that we have and our visibility outside, if we could improve our visibility outside, even people that are in Germany or in close to Holland could come to Suriname, because we are going to Schiphol, the international airport. We have access to Copa Airlines, which is about 80 countries visiting that this airline is going to, Caribbean Airlines. So we have we have potential based on the current airlift. Okay. But that means that we need to increase our visibility outside.
Okay, keep this one, because we come back to it.
Yeah.
But Mr. van Voidl, you said Suriname has the potential to become the next of the Singapore of South America. What does that vision mean in practical terms?
But look, when you look at the history of Singapore, 60 years ago, Singapore was poor, poor. Today, you look at Singapore as being a leader in the world. So I believe, with a positive attitude, a good plan, good governance, good government, Suriname can be a Singapore. When I mentioned it, people said to me, what are you talking about? But I spent a lot of time in Singapore, so I know how Singapore works. So I feel very strongly, if we all work together instead of against each other, we can go and put Suriname on the global map. My goal with SHATA is I want to put Suriname on the global map. I want it. It doesn't matter where I travel. When I say I come from Suriname, people say, man, this is a great country.
Yes. So what are the similarities, best practices that we can cope from Singapore and, to develop our tourism sector?
Take as an example, and I take cleanliness, right? Every Sunday, I walk the whole city, everywhere. And when I see garbage lying all over the place, Wakabasi, I take pictures and I send it to the DC and I said, hey man, what is this? So working with the DC, we are working on it. These are all the little things, the homeless people lying around. So if I would be today an international guest who doesn't spend $1,000, I spend $5,000 or $10,000. And I walk to the city because that's what I do when I go to foreign countries. And I see homeless people lying all over the place and I see garbage. Automatically, I will degrade the country. So it's this kind of infrastructure work that we are working on now, from the immigration officers to the homeless people, to the garbage on the street. So when we have that organized, then we can go and take the next step up. So this is a step-by-step approach. And that's what Singapore was. They had to clear up their city. Now they're the toughest city when it comes to cleanliness.
Okay.
I just came back from China. I was so impressed from Shanghai and various cities that I visited. Spotless. You cannot find a piece of paper on the street. There's 23 million people living in Shanghai. So it is possible. We have to stop finding excuses why not. We have to turn the why not into yes, we can.
Okay. Strong. From SHATA's point of view, because you're talking about SHATA, what are SHATA's top strategic priorities for growing tourism in Suriname?
But at the present time, like I mentioned, we're doing infrastructure work, right? When you meet with the immigration officers, as an example, they have no POS system. So a visitor arrives, there has to pay his 50 or she has to pay their $50. They have no cash. International people don't carry cash. They put their credit card out and the officer will say, I cannot use it. So now we are working with the Bankers Association to see that we get POS systems to all the immigration officers. So I had a meeting with the Bankers Association and I raised these points. There is no ATM machine at arrival. Any airport in the world logically needs to have an ATM. So we are working with the bankers to get an ATM in there. So we're doing a lot of that work before we can actually go and go out to the world and talk how great Suriname is.
Okay, nice. Mrs. Mormon, do you find this vision realistic?
Of course, we need to. In fact, there is no other way. If you really want to develop the country in terms of tourism, then these are the basic things. And I think one of the first things is also awareness. Sometimes we don't understand what the impact for tourism is, but the moment you know you can earn from it, people might change. So it's a combination of awareness, but also sanctions. So sometimes you can have a combination with letting people understand why it's important. And from that position, you can do more, or you can get more out of it. And of course, the other things, because there is a lot to do. And I think the most important thing that Egon indicates is working together.
Yes.
Because tourism is so cross-cutting, and every minister has its own policy, so we are working so fragmented, which in the end of the day, we work against each other instead of working together. So if we do that, for example, the Ministry of TCT, with the Directorate of Culture, with Ministry of Education, they should work together, right? Public Works, Health, Agriculture. We should have kind of a focus. These are the sectors that we want to work for and get things going. Financial sector, on You know, if people come to Suriname, yes, you're so right. We had some visitors, and they only came with their
Credit card.
credit cards.
You can't use
You
it.
can't use it, which means that they will only spend $1,000 while they have
Yeah.
a lot of other money
Sure.
to spend, right? So we need to work on that.
Okay. Now we are focusing more on ecotourism, our cultural heritage, diaspora engagement. Should Suriname target high-end niche tourism or try to attract a broader visitor base?
I think that the way the world is going in sustainable economies and sustainable country and our 93% forest coverage, ecotourism and culture tourism, you can make it high end. So you should have different types, but a high end one specifically, if you want to go to the far south of the country, then it is expensive. Why? Because you want to protect it. And if you want to protect it, people need to pay for that. They need to pay for the fresh air. They need to pay for detoxing. They need to pay to get back to their roots, right? So and it's not paying as in, getting money. It's for the protection of our culture. It's for the protection of our nature, and that is what you contribute. So it's in fact a contribution to keep what we have, and that's why we need to invest in that. And the high-end tourist will bring us to that next step.
Okay, so maybe now I will open up an already open door, but does government policy sufficiently prioritize tourism as a key economic sector?
Currently, no.
Just no.
No, why not? There is a tourism law. There is an STA, a tourism authority. We need to focus on getting something done, and I think it's not enough. The Minister of Economic Affairs also started with, and I'm also part of that, a value chain analysis of the tourism sector. And one of the key things is prioritizing tourism, which means the ministers have to work together, the districts commissioners have to work together. The private and the public sector need to work together. If we look at we have 11 nature reserves, and you have a Stinasu and an LBB. So another minister is responsible for that.
We have to.
You have to work together to get things done. And it's not only private sector, it's public and private sector. The moment we get those two together, then you'll see the magic happen. So it will be private, public, but also the communities. Because the communities have the culture. We are so diverse, right? But nobody knows. In terms of data, nobody of the entire hemisphere in Latin America and the Caribbean know. But that key is with the communities, the traditions, the food, wellness, everything, the knowledge of plants, everything it's in communities, it's communities' knowledge. So that's why it's a combination of public, private, and communities to get together and make wonderful products, because we have it already, but we just need to do it.
Yes, so enough unique selling points.
Enough, yeah.
Maybe you have something to add to this, Mr. Egon?
But Sherida and I, we talk a lot. So I think that, we are totally in sync what needs to be done. 100% agree with her that will be the private sector who makes a difference in this country, not the government.
Okay.
So from our perspective, from SHATA's point of view, we just take ownership. We just move forward. We don't let roadblocks be in our way. We're just going to go and go. But we're going to challenge the government, as we do already. And there will be progress made. I'm a very positive person. I believe that we can make incredible changes.
Yeah.
And I see in that short period of time, since January now, how much change we already, from a SHATA's point of view, made. But we're only doing the groundwork. We haven't even touched the big stuff yet,
Okay.
right? But also think, we're going to add on to the inventory of hotel rooms in this country at least 900 to 1,000 hotel rooms. But what does that do? So these are brand new hotels. So all of a sudden, when you're on Anton Trachtenweg, you're going to go and see one branded hotel after the other, after the other. But yeah, now, this is where you look now, I'm a player. I'm not just a little guy with 2, 3 hotels in the city. No, now I'm a player.
Okay.
Right?
So talking about accessibility and infrastructure,
Yeah.
flight delays
Yes.
and cancellations, especially with the SLM,
Yeah.
have been affecting tourist experience.
Yes.
What are SHATA's concerns and recommendations on this issue?
But you know, I worked with American very closely when they did their direct flights to the country. At that time, I made it very, very clear to the government that if you don't go and do subsidies for American, you will lose American. But that was not understood. What do you mean we should pay for empty seats? Or we should do this, or we should do that? But that's what countries do to go and keep that lift going. This is why we lost American Airlines. Now with Andrew Muller sitting on the board of SHATA, who is in charge of aviation, he just came back from the Bahamas. There was a very, very large trade show that relates where all airlines get together and they talk about their destinations that they're going to fly. So we talked to American, we talked to Delta, we talked to Spirit, we talked to Avianca, and so on. The feedback we got from the Americans, because I think that is the most important one. We have to go and get people from the US into Suriname in 4.5, 5 hours. And that not only relates to tourism, that's the oil and gas sector. The complaints I receive from the oil and gas sector is that the person says, I fly from Houston to Miami, then I wait and wait and wait. Then I fly to Aruba, from Aruba I fly to Curacao to here. It takes me, 15 hours to come here. Well, you're angering an executive of an industry that you're really going after. So again, somebody has to say, we need direct flights. We have to improve that. And when you look at Guyana, they keep on adding on direct flights. I can fly from Toronto to Georgetown. I can fly from New York to Georgetown. I can fly now from Amsterdam to Georgetown. I can fly from London to Georgetown. And we are pooping around. I mean, again, you know, somebody has to go and say, hey, we're going to do it.
Yes.
And not just talk about it.
Investment. Mrs. Mormon, and then back again from economic lens, how does poor infrastructure impact tourism potential returns?
The poor infrastructure in terms of locally poor infrastructure, it makes tourism expensive but not product worth, right? Because you have to spend enough, it's very, sometimes people say it's adventurous, but it's not adventurous, it's dangerous, right? To go on these roads. So we have these massive roads that are very adventurous, dangerous, right? Even the simplest location as Brownsberg, for example, which is also for the oil and gas sector. When people are secured, have a high insurance, they will not go to these locations because of a bad infrastructure. So locally, infrastructure makes your product expensive without having a better quality of the product. So it brings the quality of your product down. That's one thing. And it makes it expensive to, for example, build or to do everything in your area because of the infrastructure. So that is one thing from infrastructure. And as Egon indicated, if you cannot reach the country, if it takes you 15 to 28 hours to come into your country, then people will go to another one. So infrastructure is, if you would compare it, it's it has a tremendous impact
Yes,
on
please
the
compare it
development.
to regional competitors in terms of
So,
tourism.
so if you look at Costa Rica, for example, much better and improved infrastructure, which means it's eligible for people to drive to different locations, and even for local and domestic tourists, it's important that your infrastructure is good. So infrastructure in terms of roads, in terms of bridges, but also infrastructure in terms of what do you have for, what amenities do you have for the tourists to experience? If you, for example, the safety stuff. If you're climbing up a bridge, or if you, no, a mountain,
Yeah.
what is there as safety infrastructure? What do you have as your first aid infrastructure, your health infrastructure? So infrastructure is also cross-cutting. It has impact on the development of your product.
So then, what are the risks of further delay in this area?
Oh, okay. So that has to do with the flights, right? What you're talking about?
No, delay in, investment.
Yeah, definitely. If we invest in an improved infrastructure, for example, a simple thing, the road to Apura, and all the communities are complaining, and it can be solved with a combination of private and public sector, because you have the timber sector, the guys that are going in the interior for wood, specific investment in the roads. A simple road to Redidoti, to the Yodan Savannah area. Now in the rainy season, the road is very bad. But you have these big trucks passing by and damaging the road. So you should have a combination of the private sector and public sector investing in these roads. But then the money should be earmarked. Because why people are not paying? Why does the private sector they don't want to pay these trucks at these businesses? Because they have a feeling that when they pay, the money goes in a big pocket, and then it doesn't go back to what is needed for the road. So we should earmark money, we should earmark investments for the tourism sector. So your infrastructure to the simplest places. Even now, if you go to Nikeri, the road is so bad, right? And that doesn't invite people to come to your districts.
Okay. Skills and employment, Mr. Van Voidl.
Yeah.
Is there a skill gap in hospitality and service in Suriname?
There's a huge gap. Huge gap. I mean, look
Describe
at,
it for me, please.
We calculated we will need around at least 2,000 skilled people by 28. But where do I find them? Right? So now we are working with HSDDC in changing the curriculum, because the curriculum is totally outdated. It produces, in principle, people who have maybe a lot of theory, but they have no practical knowledge. So we want to change that. We want to go and apply more practical. So at the moment, it's 80% theory, 20% practice. And then when they come to the hotel and they do the internship of 4 or 5 months, you don't learn anything in 4 or 5 months if you want to understand the whole business. So now I'm working on that already with the college, and that we want to change that, improve the quality of people when they come out of the college. I think the hotel sector in particular will have to go and jump on board, and I will deal with that one as well, whereby we're going to hire these people. So the student actually has a job, learns on the job, gets paid on the job, and then goes to the college. Because now it's the opposite, right? So we are working on that. So training, very, very important. And again, we have to go and do a 360 with the way the curriculum is at the present time. All of that was discussed with the Minister of Education, with the Minister of Labor, and with meetings that I have with HSDDC all the time.
So do we have enough people available to train, or do we have to import some of the people?
Well, the easiest way again is, they say, well, let me go to Colombia and bring 20 people. I want to give jobs to Surinamese people. I don't want to go and bring people in from Venezuela, from Cuba, from Colombia. What would be easy? I want that the local people embrace tourism. For that, we have to go down to the ground. We start off going to schools where kids age of 14, we tell them actually what tourism is. We tell them that they can actually work on a global level. We're going to tell them that they're making very good money, that there are opportunities. So again, we have to go from the ground up, and hopefully, people will embrace that. So I have plans to have some symposiums where we get 200-300 kids into the ballroom and where we're going to explain to them actually the incredible potential of tourism.
Okay, so you believe in that tourism can be, a sustainable job creator.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, good. Mrs. Mormon, what labor market benefits would a thriving tourism industry bring to Suriname?
Well, for now, for example, based on the current data, on the data that we have, between 6 to 12,000 people are direct and indirectly employed because of the tourism sector. So what we should do is, and I agree with Egon, is that we should have a fast track in training more people, but also a sustainable track, which means we have to invest in our educational system. So that is one thing that we need to do. I have a meeting with the minister as well, and he recognized that you need to start from the bottom. If you want to support a sector sustainably, right, for the next generation, you need to start in your official educational system as well. But the fast track is getting people now, which means from the airport, from the taxi driver, from the seller of the dosi, everybody needs to be trained to cater the tourism sector. Because for now, what we have seen is that, and they complain, is that we are not client friendly yet. We are family members, we are happy people. The moment we know you, we are the best family ever, right? Some people say, yeah, we are the best. Someone from the group, they told us, we had this evaluation and they said, well, you feel like family. That is what Suriname has.
That's a fact.
Yeah, but the first step is hospitality. And we need to make people understand that it's not a shame. You need to be proud of your job. Those are the basic things that we need to get into our system as well. That service is not a bad thing. It's a good thing, and you can earn from it. It's your livelihood. So from the taxi driver until the minister, the president, everybody needs to have this service-oriented approach. Even in traffic, the way we are, and that doesn't really have to do with tourism, but the way we are driving, the way we are handling each other. So it's not only for the foreigner, but for ourselves. We need to be more visitors and more client-friendly and more approachable. And I think that is something that is one thing that needs to do with the fast track, but also the sustainable track. And that means that you have to have that in your educational system. But also in the interior, if we look at, and that is something that from what we are doing good, what we are really doing good is that the majority of our businesses, our tourism businesses, is locally owned, which means that there is not enough, that there's no great leakage. Leakage meaning that all the money that we earn goes back to abroad. And that is a good thing. So together with the hotels, together with all the people that have tourism businesses, we can support the labor sector.
So should tourism be integrated into vocational training and national human capital development strategy?
Definitely, definitely. So we have different institutes, educational institute, that do a part of the training. Not in Polytechnical College, the LBGO. They have parts of the tourism, but as Egan indicated, it's pretty theoretical. What we need to do is make it more vocational, make it more practical, and that is something that you need to do together with the private sector. Have the possibility for the students to work and learn. And I think the vocational institutes should be strengthened.
Okay. Then our last topic, promotion and investment. Mr. van Voidl, what is your or SHATA's target audience in international promotion campaigns? The diaspora, Dutch tourists, or nature lovers?
I think it's going further. Like from our point of view, we will not focus on the Dutch tourist much. When we've been for 10 or 20 years, we will go to 4 trade shows in Holland, and the results are very limited. So our focus is to develop new markets. We have to open new markets for Suriname. And that could be Germany as an example, that could be other European countries, that could be Britain. But for me, I look at the US. I say the US is the closest we have. And I have millions and millions of people that I can tap. So now we have to go and strategize and say, where do I go? Which trade shows do I go? Do I go to Dallas, Atlanta, Miami, New York? Where do I go? So we are evaluating that now and saying, where is the best to do? You know, I just came back from Sea Trade. So we attended Sea Trade in Miami. Next year, we will have at least 6 cruise ships coming into Suriname. So now we are working on that particular market too. And we were there with the Port Authority, and it was very good to work together with the Port Authority, because in all the meetings they said, you know, we would like to go and bring larger vessels in. But to bring larger vessels, we're going to have to draft more, right? So the port is aware of it. From a SHATA's point of view, I have regular meetings with the Port Authority, I have regular meetings with the Bankers Association. So we keep on saying, let's improve here, let's improve there, what can we do? So I want to open Suriname to a global market. I want to have Japanese bird watchers here. I want to see Chinese people here. I want to see American people here. And it doesn't have to do with nature. We put too much emphasis on nature. Suriname has an incredible culture. I'm so blown away by the culture of this country. After 11 years, I go to an event and I sit there and I get tears in my eyes because it's so fantastic. Food-wise, we do nothing with food. We have such a diversified food. We don't do that. So we will have food festivals. We're going to plan cultural festivals, but on an international level. You know, we do everything a little bit, maybe it's inferior to go out and be scared of going to a new market. And the Dutch market, well, we know that we speak their language, so keep on going to the Dutch market. They come anyway. I want to move the client who comes here up from where it is now to the next level. More income for everybody. So that's the strategy that we are working on. We're working on a marketing plan now with SHATA that we want to roll out for 26, 25 is too late. And, but we are very, very bullish. You know, we don't have any doubts. We don't, if you would ask the board of 9 board members, is there a single one who thinks we cannot? There's not a single one. They're all fully charged and ready to go.
Okay, so I was wondering, maybe both of you can answer that question. Are embassies, influencers, or international networks part of strategy?
But you know, I work with, I mean, all the ambassadors are dear friends. So I work with them on a one-to-one all the time. Influencers, we had in February, we had 3 influencers here. I had a Chinese one here who has 5.6 million followers. We had 2 Americans here all together. They had over 20 million followers. But now we grab this influencer, we just go and let him run around. No, we are there with you 24/7. We eat with you, we go with you to the resort, we do this and this. So
It's
now
for
we
the
are
experience.
friends. But
Yeah.
that's what they, just having an influencer who walks around and then hopefully he writes something positive and not negative. No, when they come in, we take control from them from arrival at the airport until we drop them off at the airport.
Okay. Are you seeing growing investor interest in Suriname's tourism space?
Well, like tomorrow, as an example, I have another meeting with SHATA because they asked me this morning and saying, we have a bank that they would like to talk to you about investing in the hotel and tourism sector. So I meet with people very frequently now who show interest in the development of tourism. Less in the development of hotels in the city. They are more interested now to developing ecotourism, if we say it, but from a higher level, right? This is not, you would take Palimö, but you're going to go and make Palimö a 5-star resort. Then they have no problem flying to Palimö, but then they have hot water and they have this and this. You have a great wellness center there. You use local people who apply their herbs and their thing to go. It's not that difficult, in my opinion.
Okay. And then, Sherida, how attractive is Suriname to foreign direct investment right now in tourism at this stage?
Well, because of the oil and gas, Suriname is now positioned in a way that people are looking at Suriname as well, right? So from that point of view, Suriname is interesting, and that is the spin-off. The spin-off is that now people are looking at Suriname, at other things that they can invest in. And ecotourism, as Egon indicated, ecotourism is one thing that people are really interested in. The bird watchers, but also culture.
Sure.
Those are the two things that we need to develop more. And people are really interested, as he indicated, the banks, but also just other companies are, they are coming to, they're making contact and they want to invest in the tourism sector. But we need to organize ourselves because, as you indicated, foreign direct investment, which means that you need to, that is the part of the government, make investments transparent. So people know if they come to invest, what are the rules, what are the guidelines, the permits, the whole process. If that is clear and transparent, that lays like the, that helps to increase investment. Because for now, it's not, for now it needs to be improved thoroughly. There needs to be like a foreign direct investment plan. And in fact, you should go further and you should have kind of a law which makes it transparent. If I invest in this, here I should pay that. These are the permits that are needed. This is what I will get in return. The taxes, everything needs to be transparent. Then you lay the ground for increasing investment in this sector.
Okay. Yeah. Do you both have a final note you want to make? Contribute to this?
From my point of view, I look forward working with Sherida and others who have the same vision that we have. Right? Again, together we can do it. It's no use of having branding of Suriname from SHATA, and then you have another agency who's doing branding for Suriname, and then another agency is doing branding for Suriname. You just blow your money. Let us take it over, and that's what we did. Right? So it is working together, communication with the ministries. The ministers have to go and talk to us. We are the private sector. We will not run after you. If you want to go and help us to go and get the economy from where it is up here, well, let's go and cut all the in-between and get to the point. We talk too much. We have too many reports, too many studies, too many this. The end result, sadly, limited. So we're going to take the lead as the private sector.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Mormon and Mrs. Voidl,
My
for
pleasure.
your thoughts and your insights into the tourism sector of Suriname. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it a lot. Thank you.
Het toerisme in Suriname is dus nog duidelijk in ontwikkeling, maar het potentieel is overduidelijk. We hoorden vandaag hoe SHATA werkt aan professionalisering en promotie en hoe economen kijken naar structurele voorwaarden voor groei. Duurzame groei met name. De vraag is niet of toerisme een bijdrage kan leveren aan Suriname, de economie van Suriname met name. De vraag is, durven we de knelpunten aan te pakken en de sprong te maken? Blijf kijken naar Supreme Exclusive, want wij houden de vinger voor u aan de pols. Tot de volgende Supreme Exclusive.
This is another Supreme production.
Supreme TV.
To entertain, to inform, to inspire.